Everyone and their brother is putting out trend predictions, but what do you actually do with all that information? Today, I want to talk about how to take a trend and break it down into motifs that you can actually draw and not just like this big broad trend that you have no idea what to do with. If you're new here, I'm Jordan and I also put out trend information, but I kind of take what other sites like Pinterest and Etsy are doing and make that into mood boards and color palettes, and not necessarily making a trend up out of thin air and telling you it's going to be a trend. I'm just taking what other people have done. So I'm not really adding to the noise of more trends. I'm just kind of showing you what those trends could look like and trying to help you out in creating new stuff. On the occasional Tuesday, I do what I call Tips and Trends Tuesday, where I put out a new trend board along with some tips, and I do this in my email list and in my Facebook group. Links to both of those are in the description if you're interested. But today we're talking about how to take a trend, break it down, and actually turn it into something you can design. So I want to break down the cottagecore trend because this has been around for a while, but it's still one of my favorites, and I still think it's a trend because the idea of cottagecore is just like slowing down, and who doesn't want that right now? I feel like life is just so chaotic that this is such an alluring trend, and so I just love it, and I want to break it down a little bit more for you. So the way I like to break down trends is to take the overall trend and then kind of figure out the overarching words you would use to describe that trend. So for cottagecore, that would be slowing down, farm / gardening, and nature. And nature and gardening are kind of similar, but you'll see what I mean in a second. Once you have the words to describe the trend, now you're going to take out like key elements or motifs that you could draw that are surrounding those themes. So for slowing down, this could be something like making your own bread, making tea, canning food, canning like all that type of stuff, doing puzzles, playing board games, knitting, crocheting, reading. Reading is huge, but it kind of ties back to cottagecore because you're getting off your screen, and also sustainability. I don't want to forget that one. Now for farm and garden, this could be chickens, foxes, rabbits, vegetables, like the actual fruits and veggies, or the garden plots, or the seedlings, anything around that. And then like garden boxes that you would have outside or indoors, and then garden tools. If you play Sims, anything in cottage living is what cottagecore is. So there's a reason why that's one of the best expansion packs. And then for nature, I would kind of describe that as herbs, wildflowers, rolling hills, pastures, meadows, and mushrooms. So that's kind of what I have for nature. Basically, you take a trend, break it down into words to describe it, and then take those words and break it down into things you can actually draw. So now for cottagecore, you have like 20 things you could draw, and you could make so many collections and patterns and things out of just one trend. I forgot to mention greenhouses, but that is also a big thing. So just like decorative greenhouses or greenhouses with all of the plants inside, or just like garden sheds, like things like that. Anything that screams cozy to you is cottagecore. I feel like cottagecore is just like cozy core. I love everything about cottagecore. It just makes me happy. And I strive to be the person who is like raising chickens and just like not on a computer or a phone all day. Like that's why I think that trend is just so appealing, because so many people just want to slow down. So taking time to actually break down a trend helps you out in the long run, because let's say you only get around to like drawing bunnies and foxes, but then a month later you want to come back to this idea. You don't have to go through and do all the research again. You already have it right here. So I recommend doing this for the trends that you're most passionate about or that speak to you the most, and break it down and then just keep coming back to it when you have time. So I'm gonna take you through some of the drawings I've done for cottagecore things in the past couple months and show you how I've kind of broken this trend down. Okay, so I'm currently making a coloring book that is basically all cottagecore, except this one, not really. I'm just in the beginning stages of figuring out what I want this to be and kind of drawing everything out. But I wanted to show you how I've kind of taken elements of cottagecore so far. So this one's a little bit more garden heavy. So you got little bumblebees, ladybugs, butterflies, seed packets, and like gardening tools, and then some vegetables. But if you come over here, this was more just like flowers and cuteness. Same thing with this. This is like you know, just standard stuff. I'm kind of just taking elements of it and doing a few variations. So obviously I love flowers, so I'm gonna do a few variations of flowers, but I also wanted to add in things like bunnies here and there. And then this one, I originally drew these for Instagram, and I can show you that post here in a minute, but I figured this would make a fun coloring page too, so I arranged all of those. So far, here's what we got, and I'd say all of these kind of fit in the cottagecore realm, except this one. I like it, but I don't know that it fits entirely, so if I end up making something that I like better, I'll just replace that. But yeah, so far, here's what we got. I have to go over these ones to match the weights so that the lines are all the same, so don't judge that part of it. These are the original teapots that I did for Instagram, and I also put them on Cricut, but I just love the texture of these. These were so good. I also did some little doodles for Western Gothic, so I took that theme and kind of just made it into like simple designs. Cowboy hat, cowboy boots, and a cactus. Pretty standard, simple stuff. Yeah, I really liked this. But that's another example of taking a trend and breaking it down into something that you can actually draw. And yeah, I really like that one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to chat with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!